If you want your power windows to work in your C5 Corvette, that is what you will be replacing. The C5 Corvette was designed to be as light and efficient as possible. The 5.7 LS1 engine is powerful and reliable, and the same cannot be said of the window mechanism that operates the power windows for this car. It is my understanding that when the engineers were developing the C5 Corvette, they were highly considering using a manual, old school crank window design just to keep the weight down on this car. What the engineers actually came up with to keep the weight down on this car was pretty ingenious, but it is also prone to failure. This can be seen in the plethora of videos you can find on YouTube showing how to change the mechanism out that operates these power windows. This is a C5 Corvette window motor, regulator, and channels all assembled into one lump mess. There are tons of videos on YouTube that show how to change these things out. But one of the things they don't cover is, what is it that breaks on these that makes them such a piece of junk? For starters, the motor can fail, and you would have to replace this whole thing because of that. When I bought my car, this was already jacked up, and so I had to replace it. And I was shocked to actually see, with just barely 13,000 miles, the cable was frayed and falling apart. Getting in the light, you can see where the braided cable frayed and just started falling apart. It was making a clunking sound when the window would try and raise up and down, and it wouldn't go through its full range of motion. And then one day it just quit working altogether. When this is installed in the door of your Corvette, this is how it is oriented. You can see the bolts on the motor that you'll unbolt, those three. You'll have the top bolts. These will all be from the side, and on the bottom side of the door there will be one bolt that you'll have to access from the bottom side once you get the panels popped off. When installed inside the car, these are the points you'll see on the bottom. These have little adjustments for stops and angles on the Corvette. My understanding in reading on the C5 Corvette is that they honestly consider doing manual windows to keep the weight down on the car, but somebody came up with this ingenious yet pesky little design to keep the weight of the car down, and pretty amazing if you really think about it. There's not much there. This whole thing just basically folds over and collapses down and just wedges into the door. It's pretty, again, it's pretty ingenious, yet at the same time it's kind of chintzy, but it works if you want power windows, so I highly recommend. Getting a set of these plastic door panel removers. I have one piece of advice when you go to remove the panels off of your Corvette. Go to Harbor Freight or another store and buy you some of these plasticky, nylon, whatever they are, door panel removers, and start towards the hinge of the Corvette. Start it on the panel towards the hinge, where in case you do damage any of the panel, it will be against that crack of the door where you wouldn't see it. So start on that. You want to gently work. I kind of like the fatter deal getting underneath there in my car, because I feel like you can then use some side leverage to get that panel to pop loose. That's pretty much it. Quick, short little video on what fails, what can fail, other than the switches themselves on the door on a C5 Corvette. So it can be a little bit tricky trying to get this panel off without breaking those tabs, or in this case I broke the whole plastic piece at the top here where the interior memory buttons are. You can see where the white tab is in the center here, and then they're held at both ends, top and bottom as well.